Is Rec Room dying? I'm sure if you're a level 50 player or you've been around the game for a couple years, you've heard a steady stream of people saying this game is basically on life support. It's just a cash grab now. None of my friends even play anymore. There's nothing to do in this game. I mean, if you search cash grab in the Rec Room Discord server, it yields over 1,300 results. Searching Rec Room dying has over 600. Countless people express adamant opinions that this game is experiencing its slow death. So, is it true? I have 6 points to discuss here about common complaints, so let's start with the first one. Number 1.
The game is boring. It's not the same as it used to be.
Look, when I first started playing Rec Room, I could be enthralled by the Rec Room original games for hours. It took every ounce of strength to get through Golden Trophy without dying, even on a team of 4 people. Pathetic, I know. Everything was new and exciting. I found myself plugging in my VR headset with an external battery pack so I could play for 2 to 4 hours at a time. Actually, in hindsight, I'm not sure how I managed that. The Quest 2 is super heavy, and now I get a headache after I'm in VR for like an hour. Guess I'm getting old. But once I got bored with exploring everything from 3D charades to Jumbotron, I moved into exploring community maps with my friends, interspersed with returning to Rec Room Originals for more questing. I was building friendships, I was new to VR, everything was shiny and immersive and the opposite of boring. My point is, I think we all go through this phase of seeing things for the first time and being wowed and overwhelmed, when even throwing a basketball in a hoop in the rec center has appeal. And as we get more and more familiar with our surroundings, things are less and less intriguing. Paintball seems repetitive. You start noticing tryhards everywhere because you're a higher level, so it's not as easy. Beating Golden Trophy for the 35th time starts to feel like you could just do it in your sleep. You know all the goblin spawns, and your friends revive you before you even open your mouth to say you're down. When things aren't as challenging, of course they seem more boring. Half the excitement comes from trying to win or reach level 50. I think a lot of people saying things are dull are level 50, have been playing for a year or 2 or more, they've seen friends move on from the game, and they've not been able to replace those friendships, and so they blame Rec Room. The reality? Maybe it's you. Maybe it's nothing to do with Rec Room. New people are joining all the time. Just because you haven't met them doesn't mean the game is dead. Number 2.
Rec Room is just a cash grab now.
Another main complaint I hear about why this game is supposedly on a downward trajectory is all the pop-up stores and how everything feels like a cash grab. People who started playing Rec Room in 2021 or earlier are especially salty about this. They remember a glorious time where there was a weekly skin you could grind for, and that was really the only way to obtain item skins. Back in my day, you'll hear them reminisce, the weekly rotation shop was the only new source of items. It was exceedingly rare to find any sort of pop-up storefront, and there was no lore. The closest we had was some Forbidden One appearances in Rec Room videos for a while, before he disappeared entirely. The lore that was introduced after this was probably well received by most players, to be honest. It was cute, new storefronts and invasion events popped up, and people who wanted to spend the tokens did. But those pre-2021 players folded their arms in frustration and glared at the S storefronts and items.
18,000 tokens for an amulet?
They would wail. How dare they? They would say the lore was ambiguous at best and an excuse to swindle us out of our hard-earned tokens. There were even ideas for protests for everyone to stop spending tokens altogether until Rec Room smartened up and made everything dirt cheap. In theory, I definitely do understand the sentiment, I guess. To the untrained eye, these items are very expensive, but consider this. It's a free game. And before you just roll your eyes and click off this video, let me elaborate further on that. It takes very trained staff to make this game run properly. People who require university educations are typically not paid minimum wage. So even though it's a smallish game, they still require hundreds of staff members to operate. A headquarters in Seattle? Y'all know office space isn't cheap. Rec Room Originals cost a lot of money to design and execute. Creators get payouts, updates cost money. The items that get released in these storefronts require an art team to design. And not only is the game free, the prime demographic for the game is like kids that are 13 years old. How much money do you think the average 13-year-old has? Exactly. So when something is like 9,000 tokens, it's probably not priced that way to be geared towards pleasing the average teen or preteen's wallet. In addition, Rec Room has a ton of ways to earn tokens, limited only by your creativity. I think it would be more cruel if they forced you to walk around in that noob, sad level 1 outfit if you weren't going to spend. But you can put together some pretty cool outfits from free items, items that you get by leveling up, and tokens earned from playing Rec Room Originals. For a free game, I think that's more than fair. The problem is simply that everyone adores Rec Room and the cool aesthetics of new items, and it pulls at their heartstrings. To me, that says that they do an excellent job both with creating new items and making us want to have drippy outfits that can be customized. Again, this sounds like a you problem. Rec Room is just doing their job marketing effectively to its player base. And they're doing a great job of it. If the game was really dying, I don't think anyone would really be buying these outfits or caring, and the opposite is true. Number 3.
Everyone's leaving for different games.
I would like you to take a moment to think about all the games you've played in your lifetime. Fortnite? Roblox? Minecraft? Gorilla Tag? Maybe those are some of the recent ones. What was before that? How long did you really stick with each game? I personally went through a die-hard ARC phase on the PS4 during COVID. It was right before I started my YouTube channel actually, back when I had something precious called free time. I don't know what that is anymore, sadly. But I played that game for hours a day. I was taming dinosaurs, exploring the island, getting killed by some rogue raptor, and struggling to go find my backpack again near my corpse. Admittedly, There were even times I raged and shut off the PlayStation before it could save so that I didn't lose my dino tames. I'm getting off topic here. The point is, I got really tired of Ark after binging it for a few months. I felt obsessed with it for a while, and I really enjoyed that time. However, I then got a VR headset and fell into Rec Room and other games. I think this is totally normal gamer behavior. Again, if you're level 50 in Rec Room and all your friends are level 50 and you hang out a lot, but then over time notice that fewer and fewer are logging back on to grind quests with you, that's probably because Fortnite put out a new update and they went back over there for a while. Or they made some friends in Gorilla Tag, which is currently holding their interest more than Rec Room. If everyone was leaving and the player base was dropping drastically, every rec center was crickets, and Park no longer had anyone in it screaming slurs at people, then I'd be concerned. I myself have seen many people come and go from the game. The active people in my Discord server alone rotates out almost entirely every 6 months or so. New active people join, and old ones get quiet or move on. They get older, school gets busier, they discover a new game, and Rec Room sits on a shelf. Well, I guess games don't really sit on a shelf anymore, especially if it's all virtual, but you know what I mean. Number 4.
All the Rec Room YouTubers are quitting, and they don't even get the same views on YouTube anymore.
Ouch. This one kind of hurts. Okay, let's be real and face the facts though. Rec Room YouTubers are reasonably perceived to be a snapshot of the ecosystem. If no one is watching our videos, it's logical to think that the game is dying and that the ecosystem is not healthy. And yes, views are definitely down. I'll be the first to admit it. YouTube, if you didn't know, has cycles throughout the year. In the summertime when kids are out of school, it's a gravy train. My ad revenue skyrockets, I can get 10,000 views on a video in one day, and I can barely keep up with friend requests in Rec Room. Well, my auto clicker can barely keep up. Same thing, really. But in the fall, things drop off a cliff. It picks up again usually at Christmas time, and then it's a slow grind up till summer when things look their brightest. I guess no one cares about touching grass because they get out of school and proceed to squish their faces into the dark depths of a VR headset until September. That's a different issue, I guess. Regardless, since 2022, views on Rec Room videos have been sliding downwards a bit. It's different for each RecTuber and each channel, but overall, I've noticed my channel grow from 10k to 80k, and the views have been stable that entire time. I've seen other channels in this community go through the same thing, or much worse. Yes, there's the odd banger video that does amazing, but overall, despite everyone's ever-growing channels, things don't appear to be expanding. My logic here is not that Rec Room is doomed, but that COVID was amazing for video games and YouTube views. 2020 to late 2021 was insane. People were shut-ins, and when they're shut-ins, they consume content like crazy. The pandemic was amazing for content creators, but unfortunately, it gave false hope to future numbers. I've seen multiple Rec Room YouTubers just give up, and I'm not sure if life just happened to them or if they were strongly discouraged after seeing the bubble pop and views return to normal. I got lucky in that sense. 2021 was me trying to grow my channel from scratch, so I never had that like, things are amazing and now they suck feeling. It's just been stable with no insane growth. I won't list every RecTuber that quit here because I feel like that'd be kind of rude, and I have no idea why they really quit, but it sort of feels like the amount of people in the space has dwindled, and I feel it too. I have to wonder if this is also just a me problem. I watched a ton of channels back in the day, and anyone who had a couple thousand subs as a Rec Room channel, I pretty much knew. Nowadays, I only watch what the top creators are doing, and a few are gravitating away from Rec Room into other games. Again, can't blame them after years of working on videos for one game. I personally get tired of Rec Room at times too, so maybe more new people are joining and I'm just unaware of their existence. If you're someone who makes Rec Room content, let me know in the comments, and let me know if you're finding it more difficult than usual these days too. Number 5.
Rec Room just doesn't add enough new content.
When it comes to adding new content to Rec Room, I think people are a little misguided. A new Rec Room original takes a very long time to make, and is likely very expensive. I personally would love to see updated versions of Golden Trophy, Rec Royale, and Disc Golf. Yeah, I like Disc Golf. So sue me. But I know that they're leaning more into the user-generated content now, while still trying to make new things happen. Rec Rally was to give us buggies, and Make It to Midnight gave new tools to creators as well. I'm really not even sure, player-based percentage-wise, how many people are wishing for an updated Golden Trophy or a second Rec Royale island. It might just be a loud few, because really, how many people have played those to death, are sick of them, and still playing Rec Room often enough to care? Realistically speaking, are the numbers even there to justify Rec Room putting in the cost and effort to appease a handful of us? I really don't know. But I do know that we're quick to forget the things that the game does do. For example, in the past year alone, we've had them add all of the following things: a new Rec Room original, Rec Rocks concerts, a Ninja Turtles map and collab, the AJR music experience, an Invasion event, Barbie and NFL collabs, Rec Room Studio. I mean, Rec Room Studio was huge. They also hosted RecCon, which takes an immense amount of effort to orchestrate. When people say Rec Room's not doing enough, and that's why it's spiraling down, I have to disagree. Any Rec Room staff member I've talked to is up to their eyeballs in work, and they're passionate about trying to make the game better for everyone while probably biting off more than they can chew, trying to make that happen for us. So if you think they don't do enough and that the game is dying because of it, at least try to be nice to the staff and constructively complain instead of blindly complain. They do like to hear feedback. I'm pretty sure what they don't like to hear is, "This game sucks, it's dying," without any suggestions on what to do to make it better. Number 6.
Screen mode is taking over and the VR community is being left behind.
I hate this point because I feel it too. do. I do. I'm trying to be the optimistic, unpopular opinion here with all of this and say that the future is bright with a pragmatic twist, because that's just the kind of person that I am. But a lot of VR players are the ones spewing the Rec Room is dying sentiment, and I get it. I remember when I first started playing, they had just let Xbox players onto the platform. Suddenly, I'd find myself in 3D charades with someone who couldn't draw, and their mic was emanating various levels of incoherent mumbling. It sounded like their microphone was underwater. The drop in quality playing the game was immediately noticeable. No offense, Xbox people. I'm sure you're great, and the mic is a lot better now than it was in 2020. My point remains, though. Back in 2016 to 2020, the VR community reigned supreme in Rec Room, and a lot of people found the experience was more close-knit, and the players were a higher caliber and possibly less toxic. Nowadays, I think it's primarily people on screens, on their phones or consoles, and they don't feel as connected. It's simply more immersive in VR. It's also a little strange as a VR player when you talk to a screen mode player and they just spin in those abnormal circles while talking. Regardless of the differences, though, it's the expansion of the community into catering more to the screen mode players that has the VR players feeling left behind. And again, I understand. You can't expect a game to be profitable while staying VR only. Look at VR Chat. I think they even have screen mode now, and they have VR in the damn title. I'm sure eventually games like Horizon Worlds will do the same and try to reach a bigger audience by expanding. Even games like Roblox want to do the opposite and try to grab the VR audience. The more platforms your game is on, the better you'll probably do. So I don't blame these companies at all. What I do wish, though, is that they would make better matchmaking for VR players so they don't feel like the game is dying and the community is evaporating the more time goes on. Maybe just better matchmaking in general. I have said this many times before, but I'd feel more like playing Rec Room if I could join lobbies with people similar in age and on the same platform. So I don't think this point means that the game is dying, but it does feel like the VR side of it is dying a little. And with it, a sense of the original community that existed. But you know what? Of course the future is impossible to predict. Another game could get released that's much better than Rec Room and steal a huge portion of the player base. Rec Room could make some really bad decisions or updates that push people away in droves. The economy might continue to tank, and the game might be forced to no longer be free. But when people say that Rec Room is dying, I do roll my eyes a little. Just because you played for 2 years and got sick of it, or that it's evolved into a game with more storefronts and a bigger focus on mobile users, doesn't mean it's going anywhere. I mean, are you the same way now as you were when you were 10? No, of course not. I mean, a lot of things probably evolved with you and changed as you grew up. A social game like Rec Room is exactly like that. It has growing pains and big achievements and minor setbacks, like anyone. I personally am still very keen to be part of the journey with Rec Room, for better or for worse. If you enjoyed this video, please consider using the partner code TARA in Rec Room, and I think you'll enjoy the video I put on screen here next.